Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 17, National Football League. We've reached the finish line, at least the regular season finish line, that is. And for the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals, AFC North family business, it's pretty simple for both teams involved in this game. Ravens come into the game at 8-7, simply needing to win and a couple of other things to happen. But again, winning is the first objective. You don't win, none of the other stuff matters. Ravens win coupled with a Dolphins loss or a Chargers win and they're in. And so it was pretty simple. If you're Baltimore, just win the game and you're in, essentially. And for Cincinnati, it's all about seeding. You come into the game at 10-5, having already clinched the AFC North division via a win last week coupled with the Ravens' loss. So you've already clinched the division. You've clinched a playoff berth. However, seeding's still up in the air. If by some chance the Patriots can fall, you can get into that second slot and assure yourself of a first-round bye and home field advantage up until the championship game. If the Denver Broncos win the number one seed and are still in the playoffs, you would have to go then to Denver. But look, if you can get that first round bye, if you can get that home playoff game in a divisional round, you've done yourself some good. So if you're Cincinnati, this game means a lot to you as well. So let's go to the board, break this game down through the eyes of me, Louie T. So Ravens 8-7, Cincinnati 10-5, and I already had said Ravens weren't going into Cincinnati and winning. I had said this a while back, and you know I'm a guy that loves to toot my own horn. So if I told you so, I told you so. And I told you, no way the Ravens are going into Baltimore, going into Cincinnati and winning this football game. So last week's loss at home versus New England, huge, because now you need help. And if you could have won that game, you wouldn't have needed this one as much. So that was a huge, huge loss last week. Now you got to go into the jungle and try to get a W. Just don't see it happening. But first play of the game, Andy Dalton picked off by Corey Graham. And look, I've done this all season long with Andy Dalton. A lot of people, I've talked to so many people, and the reason they're not sold on Cincinnati like I am, Andy Dalton. And I keep trying to explain to people that, hey, when they're at home, they're a dangerous team. Despite what Andy Dalton does at home, this defense plays ferocious. The crowd gets involved. It's a reason why they haven't lost at home all season long. Andy Dalton and his team plays better at home. Now, when they go on the road, all bets are off. I don't know what you're getting, but this pick by Corey Graham wasn't a bad, it was an underthrow, but it wasn't a severe underthrow. This pass could have been caught by Marvin Jones, but it was a great play by Corey Graham. Give him some credit. He made a play, got his hand in there, got the ball loose, and was able to corral it, picked it off. Great play by Corey Graham. Sets the tone early for the Ravens. Now, this is the difference between the Ravens last year and this year. This is why the Ravens aren't a good team. This is why I said about 6 weeks ago that this Ravens team wasn't going to make the postseason. And I stayed steadfast to that. This is the reason why. And you know the motto. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. And after that pick and a successful challenge by Cincinnati, because they tried to give the Ravens a catch that wasn't a catch, the Bengals forced a field goal. It's 3-0. Now look, you get a turnover, that's free points. Whether you kick a field goal, you get a touchdown, it's free points. You take your points any way you can get them. But again, I'll come back to this. Dalton overthrows A.J. Green, picked off by James Ahitabo. A couple of big third down runs later by Bernard Pierce. It sets up a 22-yard field goal, and it's 6-0 Baltimore. Now, let me stop right here. At this point now, I'm becoming perturbed with Andy Dalton because this is his second pick, and this is a big game. And these are things you don't want to see going into the postseason. If you're the Ravens, you've dominated this football game to this point, okay? Defensively, you've gotten after Dalton. You've forced him into a couple of bad throws. You've made 2 interceptions to this point. But you only have 6 points. And look, a 22-yard field goal means you got to the 4-yard line, couldn't get in the end zone. This is the problem with the Ravens in 2013, right here. This is the crux. And I thought that this start to the game really capsulizes this Ravens season right here. Because here's an opportunity for you to jump on top of the Cincinnati Bengals at home. You're on the road. They're at home in Cincinnati. Chance for you to get off to a great start on the road against a team that hasn't lost all season at home. So here's your chance. 2 interceptions to start out the game. Great field position. A chance for you to really make a statement and put doubt into the minds of the Cincinnati Bengals early in this football game. 2 picks, great field position, and you come away with a total of 6 points. 2 field goals. You know the motto. You know the mantra. I'm not going to say it again. But 6 points. It's 6-0. If just one of these field goals is a touchdown, we're talking about a 2-possession score, 10-0. It's a totally different ballgame. Instead, it's 6-0. Even though you've dominated the early stages of the game, you don't have really anything to show for it. 6-0. We're talking about one big play away from Cincinnati taking the lead. And speaking of one big play action fake, and boom! 53 yards later, it's a touchdown strike, and you're not fully green unless you're AJ Green. Just like that. 7-6. And you know I like it when you get the ball to AJ Green. Yeah. And 7-6, you've dominated to this point. One big play from Cincinnati. AJ Green gets behind your defense. You're trailing in this game. So that's the fine line between scoring touchdowns and kicking field goals in this league. You kick field goals, you lose football games. You score touchdowns, you win games. It's a really simple equation. This isn't trigonometry here. This is some simple math. Touchdowns equals wins. Easy. Really, really easy. So it's 7-6, even though the Ravens have 2 picks to their name, even though the Ravens have dominated to this point. They're trailing in the game 7-6. Great field position leads to another field goal by Cincinnati, or excuse me, the first of the game. It's 10-6 Cincinnati. Flacco gets banged up on the possession. Okay, so here's the chain of events that really kickstarts this game going in the direction for Cincinnati. You get the AJ Green touchdown, you kick it off, you pin the Ravens deep in their own territory. Couple of penalties, some stops, you get them deep in their own territory. Flacco's in the end zone, goes to throw the football on 3rd and long. He gets hit, awkwardly falls on the knee. You already know that he got a sprained MCL, has the knee brace on, injured that on that Monday night game in Detroit. Wasn't really that mobile against New England. Came into the game, banged up, got hit on the play, goes down awkwardly on the knee, is in pain a little bit. Punch from the own end zone. Bengals get great field position. They end up getting another field goal. It's 10-6. Then Cincinnati starts to gain some momentum again. When you start out as bad as the Cincinnati Bengals started out in this game, and you look up at the scoreboard, and it's only 6-0, once you take the lead, you feel confident now. You feel like, hey, we took their best shot, okay? They came out, they threw a couple of haymakers. We took their best shot right on the chin, and we're up. They can't beat us. And that's the way I felt in this game early on. You took the best shot of the Baltimore Ravens. They don't have much. Again, this is a team that doesn't like to score points. They're offensively challenged this season. So to take their best shot, 2 picks thrown by Andy Dalton early in this game, and to only give up 6 points, you look up, AJ Green bomb, boom, you're ahead. You took their best shot. So now, a juggling 16-yard touchdown grab by Marvin Jones extends the lead out to 17-6 at the half. Cincinnati, I felt like at this point was going to run away with this football game. I thought they had taken that initial blow by Baltimore, sustained their confidence in this game, had it swell. They were up by 11, and I felt like they were going to run away with this game at this point. But just when I thought it was safe, Andy Dalton made me cover my eyes again. I said, no, Andy, no. Andy throws his third interception of the game, this time to Ladarius Webb. This leads to a field goal at 17-9. And at this point, I'm saying to myself, is he going to throw an interception to every member of this Ravens secondary? It seems like he's trying to make sure, hey, do you have one? What about you? You got one? Okay, so Corey, you have one. Ladarius, you have one. James, you have one. Hey, do you have one yet, Jimmy? Jimmy said, nah, I don't have one. He said, okay, I'll get you one later. So at this point, this is the Andy Dalton no one wants to see. This is the Andy that I'm trying to hide. I put my hands over my eyes. Is it safe to come out yet, Andy? Can I come out now? This is the Andy Dalton that scares me. This is the one that scares everyone else. This is why no one is sold on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not jumping off the train. I still feel like this is a dangerous team. One of the few teams that I feel like can actually go into Denver, put pressure on Peyton Manning, force some turnovers, and win in Denver. Now, that's a long way up. Cincinnati's got a lot of work to do before they can even get to that point. However, this is a scary game for me because this is Andy Dalton at his worst right here. 3 interceptions to this point. Cincinnati now nursing a 1-score lead at 17-9. Wow. And this is all you can say when something like this happens. Wow. A 10-yard punt. Never thought the Huber injury that he sustained in Pittsburgh with that broken jaw would really prove to be huge. But when you get a 10-yard punt, I mean, do you understand how hard it is to get a 10-yard punt? Not a net. Not a punt that goes 50 yards and it's returned 40 yards. Not a net. To actually kick the football out of bounds and only yield 10 yards. Do you know how hard that is to do? Well, the punter for Cincinnati actually did that. And that came after a 3-and-out. So Ravens in some prime field position to score some points. And what do you think the Ravens did? Look, you keep making mistakes. There's only so many mistakes you can make before a team says, oh, okay, we're going to finally get it in the end zone. Okay, you throw the 2 picks, you kick it 10 yards. After going 3-and-out, you give the Ravens prime field position. At some point, they're going to get in the end zone. You have to know that. And so, off that field position, Flacco misses Double J for a touchdown. I thought that was going to come back to haunt him. Again, this is a team that struggles to score touchdowns. I thought missing Jacoby Jones in the end zone for a wide-open touchdown was going to be their undoing on this possession. However, Ravens pick up the first down, and ultimately, Flacco finds Marlon Brown in the end zone for a touchdown. They convert on a 2-point conversion to Ray Rice on a beautiful play going on the outside. Went inside, had to dart to the outside, got some blocking, got to the outside pylon, touchdown. 2-point conversion is good with Ray Rice. It's 17-all. So just like that, all the momentum, up 11 at the half, Andy Dalton throws his 3rd pick of the game, and all of a sudden, a bad punt. Couple of plays later, Ravens in the end zone, 2-point conversion good. It's 17-all in this football game. So let's see how the Cincinnati Bengals respond. You're the AFC North champions. How do you respond to this adversity at home? Okay. Giovanni Bernard with a little bit of a catch. Huge screen catch and run sets up a read option touchdown run by Andy Dalton. It's 24-17. That's the way to respond. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you drive the football down the field. And we saw this read option a couple of times from Andy Dalton in this game. This is something that the Bengals do from time to time. Give you something to think about. Stick that ball in the belly of the back. Pull it out. If you crash down in the back, who expects Andy Dalton to run? Not many people, especially not that defensive end, whether it's Terrell Suggs or whoever it is. They don't expect Andy to pull that ball out and take off. He did it on this particular play. He did it earlier in the game for a 9-yard gain. Does it here. Gets into the end zone. It's 24-17. The ensuing possession, Michael Johnson deflects a pass from Flacco, and it is picked off by Chris Crocker. To me, Chris Crocker is one of those glue guys, been in Cincinnati for the longest time, seems like a veteran that just continues to play solid football for this team. And he's covering a receiver on a crossing route. Ball is deflected by Michael Johnson. Great presence of mind by Crocker to see the football, make the adjustment to it, and pick it off. Big play in the game. That leads to a field goal that extends this lead out to 27-17 at a 2-possession lead. And again, that 10-point lead is huge because this Ravens team isn't going to score that many points. You know that. If you can get this thing out to 2 or 3 possessions, this game is over. And at 2 possessions, I felt like, okay, Cincinnati has weathered the storm for the second time in this game, this time for good. No way the Baltimore Ravens are going to score 27 or 28 or 30 points and win this game. They're done. They're absolutely done. Andy Dalton, and just when you thought it was safe, I had my hands over my eyes and I said, Andy, is it okay to come out now? And I started looking. I started peeping through my fingers. I said, can I come out now? And I started to pull my hands down. They get down to the 1-yard line. And to me, I don't even put this one. Andy threw the football. Andy makes a bad back shoulder throw to A.J. Green that's picked off in the end zone. And look, I said Jimmy Smith hadn't had a pick. Andy said, hey, I'll get you one. Don't worry. Hang in there, buddy. I'll get you a pick. At the 1-yard line, look, I blame this one on Jay Gruden, okay? Jay Gruden was being too cute here. You get down to the 1-yard line. We're talking about the 4-inch line here. And the run to get you down here was a magnificent run by Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. The law firm had a nifty cut back, a bull run down to the 1-yard line. Give him the football again. It's 1st and goal from the 1. Why are you throwing the football here? There's no reason for it. None. Especially when your quarterback has 3 interceptions to his name in this game. There's no reason for him to be throwing the ball here. Run it twice, at least from the 1-yard line. And if it doesn't get in, then if you need to throw, knock yourself out. But this was bad play calling here. This was one of those play calls. And they talked about it during the telecast. They said, hey, if the Ravens come back and win this game, if the Bengals lose this game, this is a call that will be second guessed. I said, damn that. I don't care if they win. I'm second guessing this call. What are you doing here? Okay? So they call a pass, 1st and goal from about the half-yard line. And of course, this is one of those situations where the ball gets closer and closer to the end zone. First it was the 1, then it was the 4-inch line, then it was the half-yard line. But you get where I'm going with this. Okay? Ball is somewhere in between the 1-yard line and the goal line. Just turn around and hand it to the back. Instead, they decide to run a back shoulder fade to A.J. Green. And this is a play that has worked wonders for this team all season long. But Andy Dalton makes a porous throw to combine that with that bad play calling of calling a pass in that situation. It's picked off by Jimmy. And give Jimmy Smith some credit. Bad throw. He goes and fights for the football, picks it off. Sure, A.J. Green could have fought for it a little bit harder. But again, it's a back shoulder fade. When you're running a back shoulder fade, you actually expect the shoulder or the football to be on the back shoulder, not the front shoulder. That's why it's called the back shoulder fade. Ball was in the front, and it was picked up. So, just when you thought it was safe to come out, oh no, Andy, what are you doing, man? And so his 4th interception of the game to 4 different Ravens in that secondary. But Ravens do nothing with it. All they did was take points off the board, and it was important at the time because, again, 10-point lead, you can't afford to give up any more points to the other Ravens, so that was a huge play in the game. Then the Cincinnati Bengals have a sort of a meltdown here, okay? You get a personal foul called on Burfict, and, you know, he picks up a personal foul from here and there from time to time. You know he's going to get one of those every now and again. And it was a questionable one, but he did hit the receiver a little late. But again, it was iffy because he got pushed into him, and he didn't really lower the boom on him, more like a little shoulder. But, yeah, okay, fine, you threw the flag. It's the first down. Then Pac-Man Jones, or Adam Jones, excuse me, gets a personal foul tacked on top of that before they even run another play. Unsportsmanlike conduct, he goes nuts after they called the 15-yard penalty on Burfict. And that's 30 yards of field position given up on one play. Unbelievable. Rarely see that in the league. Two personal fouls tacked on top of each other. And so the Ravens are in business. But their business isn't offensive business because they don't score points. So they do nothing with the football. In fact, Joe Flacco ultimately throws a pick six to Drake Kirkpatrick to seal this game. And to me, the perfect ending, a fitting, very fitting ending to the Baltimore Ravens season. As they get in the end zone, do the Cincinnati Bengals extend the lead out to 34-17, which is your final score in this game. Bengals clinch the third seed in the AFC. With this win, 34-17, Ravens are eliminated from playoff contention with this loss. They dropped to 8-8 on the season. And like I said, perfect ending to a season that had its ups, had its downs for the Ravens, but ultimately they didn't need to go to the postseason. The lack of a running game, the inability to score points consistently, and this defense, I thought, played well all season long, but you can't win in this league if you can't score points. You can't win in this league if you can't run the football. And we've seen teams score points and not run the football and have a potent passing attack. But that's not what this Ravens team is. There's a difference between not being able to run and not being able to score points. There's teams that don't run the football, can't run the football, but can score a boatload of points. This Ravens team can't run and can't score points. That's a recipe for disaster. And so this huge hole that the Ravens dug themselves early in the season, they were able to dig themselves out of the hole. But it was just too much to ask of a team that's inconsistent on the offensive side of football. And so I had said a while back, about 6 weeks ago, this team wasn't going to make it to the postseason. They made a hell of a run at it. And if not for their own undoing down the stretch, they proved me wrong. But there just wasn't enough in the tank. And I had already said this in the offseason. And if you've been watching me this whole time, then you already know what I'm about to say. This Ravens team sold their souls to the devil. And the devil was here to collect, okay? The Reaper was here to collect what he had paid for last year, okay? And the Ravens, they said, hey, we'll take the Super Bowl title. We'll send Ray out on the black horse, on the stallion. We'll send Ed out of here with a Super Bowl win. And we'll mortgage the future for a win now, okay? When you have 8 different starters from your Super Bowl team, remember, there's only 22 starters on a football team, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. When there's 8 new ones the next year, there's a lot of turnover there. Hey, no Quan, Dennis Pitta goes down. All of a sudden now, this offense looks a lot different. Bryant McKinney comes back out of shape. Yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. Hey, a lot of different moving parts here. It took a toll on this football team. It took a toll. And so the Ravens aren't able to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Heck, they don't even make it to the postseason and give themselves a chance. As they fall 34-17, go to 8-8 on the season, miss the postseason for the first time since Joe Flacco and Harbaugh have been together. First time in that era that this team has not made the postseason. For Cincinnati, big win. You finish the regular season undefeated at home, 8-0 at home. Again, dangerous team in the jungle. What's going to happen when you got to go out? I fully expect you to win in Wild Card Weekend because I don't see anyone coming into your house and beating you. I just feel like you're that good at home. What do you do when you have to go on the road? That's going to be the question. And probably the bigger question, what does Andy Dalton do when you have to go on the road? We'll see. But we'll see when that time comes. Wild Card Weekend, Cincinnati going to be hosting the San Diego Superchargers. But we'll break all of that down as I will come to you with a playoff special later on in the week. If you're Cincinnati, go ahead, pop the bubbly. You're in. You knew you were in last week when you clinched. Now you solidified the 3 spot. You're hoping that maybe in the 4 o'clock games, the New England Patriots could drop down and lose to the Buffalo Bills. Maybe the Bills give you a little bit of help, and you could find your way into a first-round bye. Wasn't the case, though, as the Bills weren't able to take care of business. New England does. And so you'll be the 3 seed. You'll be taking on the Chargers. That should be a fun matchup. But congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals for winning the AFC North Division and really getting it done in the clutch. You had a stretch there where you struggled at the end. The Ravens looked like they were going to try to come and take this division from you. You were able to weather the storm, beat up on Minnesota, took care of the Ravens. 11-5. Looks pretty good to me. Now you got to tighten up. It's all clean slate now. Brand new season. Second season. You got your ticket. You're in the dance. Now let's see. You got your chance. You're in the dance. Let's see what you do with it. So that's going to do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Got plenty more games to break down in week number 17. So come back and join me. What a big weekend in the National Football League. This was one of those games that had playoff implications. There are plenty more. So come back and join me as I continue to break down week number 17 in the National Football League.